Hi. Okay, this is the first of a few videos about how to solve quadratic equations with the quadratic formula. I find my students usually like this method because it's pretty straightforward. You just have to be careful of a couple things, but it's kind of easy to use. It's also a little bit messy in that there's a big calculation to do, but people tend to like it. Okay. So here's the quadratic formula. If you have an equation that says if ax squared plus bx squared plus c equals 0, and this is really important, we'll talk about this, then here's what the value of x is, the two values of x. This whole kind of shebang here, this big formula. So it's negative b plus or minus, so that means there are two solutions. One of them is if this is plus, this thing here is plus, and the other one is if we're subtracting this whole thing here. And the thing is the square root of b squared minus 4ac, so it's the square root of all of that. And then you take everything you got in the numerator and you divide by 2a. Okay? So it's important that you can only use this formula if you have an equation that's sort of laid out like this. First of all, it has to be equal to 0. And then your a value is the coefficient on the x squared. These are just like we've been using before. The b value is the coefficient on x, and the c value is the constant term with no x's. So if you have an equation like this, and you want to solve it, then you can just substitute into this equation, and then you simplify carefully, and then you'll get the two solutions. Okay. So all this video is going to do, we won't do any examples of actually solving that. I'll do that in the next video. But I'll just show you how to identify a and b and c. It's pretty straightforward. You just have to be a bit careful. Okay, so here are 3 examples of equations you might want to solve with a quadratic formula. The first one here is a pretty nice one because everything's already laid out exactly how we want. First of all, we've got some quadratic equation equals 0. That's the really key thing to look for there. And then everything's written in the right order. We have the x squared term first, and then the x term, and then the constant term. So in this case, things are going to be pretty much exactly how you want. The a value is the coefficient on the x squared term. So in this case, a equals 6. And then the b value is the coefficient on the x term. So in this case, really the only place a person might go wrong here was if you didn't notice the negative sign. So it's important to pay attention for those. But if you do, it's pretty straightforward that the b value is negative 5. And then the last thing is the c value, which is the constant term, and that's 2. Okay. So on this next one, we've got 3x squared plus 5 equals 12x. So things are looking pretty good here, except that we've got, it's not equal to 0, like we want it to be. So all we're going to do is we're just going to rearrange it to make it equal to 0. So to do that, we'll subtract 12x from both sides. So, and then oops, 12x. There we go. And then it's probably useful to rearrange the left side so that it's in the order we want. So we'll have 3x squared, and then I'll put my minus 12x next, plus 5. And that 12x minus 12x on the right-hand side is 0. Okay, so here, the a value is the coefficient on the x squared term, so it's just going to be this 3 here. A is 3. The b value is the coefficient on x, so it's negative 12x. It's negative 12. And the c value is the constant term, so it's plus 5. And it is important, don't do that thing I just did out loud there. The b value isn't negative 12x, it's just negative 12. And the a value isn't 3x squared, it's just 3. Okay, and if we look at the next example here, we've got 2x squared plus 4x minus 3 equals 5. So we've got the same thing we have to do as in equation 2. Well, we're just going to rearrange to equal 0 first. And the way we'll do that is we'll just subtract whatever we have on the right-hand side. So in this case, we've got equals 5. So we'll just take away 5 from both sides. So that leaves us with 2x squared plus 4x, and then minus 3 minus 5 is minus 8. And then on the right-hand side, we've got equals 0, because it's 5 minus 5. Okay, and then things are in the right order. We've got the x squared term followed by the x term followed by the constant term, and that's equal to 0. So that makes it easy to spot a, b, and c. The a value is 2, the b value is 4, and the c value is negative 8. So that's sort of the first step in solving the quadratic equation, is you just identify what the a, b, and c values are so that you can substitute them into the equation. Alright, thanks.